Join the Zone Saturday, June 1st for Dino Day at all Sinclair locations. Fuel up and save up to 30 cents per gallon on top-tier premium level fuel with Dino Pay. You got that? Dino Pay. This Dino Day at all Sinclair stations and Dino Pay, plus free Dino swag, and that's on June 1st, which is this very Saturday. It's coming on as May is ending here very, very soon, just a couple more days.
And we will be broadcasting live from Dino Days.
Nice.
Saturday show will be on location.
Yeah, that Jake Hatch will be doing the Saturday show. All right, joining us now is our NHL and hockey insider for KSLSports.com, Jay Stevens. Jay, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Excited to continue to progress along the timeline of hockey starting. And it looks like we are narrowing down a team name. Is this true?
Sounds like it's true. It's kind of a surprise to me. But, yeah, Ryan Smith was on a different podcast, not my podcast for some reason, but on a different podcast last night and admitted that they've narrowed it down to 4.
And he
only said 2 of them.
Oh, man, that's drama right there.
He sure knows how to – he's got the sizzle, like Michael Jackson used to call it. He likes to let things sizzle for a while.
And what are those 2?
So, obviously, Yeti. Everybody knows that Yeti's kind of the front runner, but Mammoth seems to be what everybody else that doesn't like Yeti is going for Mammoth. So those are the 2 names. I keep hearing Outlaws. So I think those are the top 3 names. And I'm pretty excited about all of them. How do you guys feel about them?
You know, I think that he wants Yeti, and I think that's where he's going. And so get it done and get yourself the name whenever you decide you want to have it. And I don't really have a lot of concern because I think what they'll do is obviously they'll get a name, right? They get the name, and then they'll be able to create some insignias, logos, all that stuff, and they're going to get people who know what they're doing there. So whatever they come up with, it's going to be cool looking, and there's going to be sales. We're going to see them all over town, all over the valley, probably all over the state, and maybe even into Idaho and Wyoming and all that stuff. And my guess is whatever that logo, whatever the identification is, it's going to look sweet no matter what the name is. So from that perspective, I don't really care what the name is because I know they're going to come up with something cool and people are going to be attached to it and we're going to see it, right? I mean, that's the way I look at it. So it's going to be clever, it's going to be nice, and it's going to look good as you wear the gear, whatever it might be. So I'm actually more, not concerned, but maybe interested is the better word, to see how they create it and put a jersey together, that type of thing. I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, and it's, you've got a lot of naysayers on either side. No matter what you come up with, people are going to say stuff, but once the logo comes out, this happened with the Kraken, even happened with the Vegas Golden Knights, that people were against the jerseys, people were against, the logo and all that stuff, but then, halfway through the season, those same people are proudly wearing the jerseys, they get it. And once your team plays in front of you, you start taking that pride on too. And I'm going to be head to toe in all this stuff. So I hope the color scheme is cool. That's really all you can hope for. I hope it really does represent Utah. I know that a lot of people say a Yeti doesn't really and a Mammoth does. But eventually it will represent Utah. And that will be, people will look at that Yeti or that whatever, and it will represent Utah on a scale that, we've only had the Utah Jazz to that scale so far.
Right, and the Jazz are the perfect example. It does, when we see the Jazz note now, we don't think of New Orleans. That's a long time ago. We think of here. And the color scheme, I believe, will be cool. I really don't have any doubt about that. I think it'll look sharp, and people will be attracted to it. And so they'll go, and particularly as they get more familiar with the team. And, it's going to take a little bit because if you haven't been following hockey, well, you got to get aboard if you're a sports fan because it's going to be in your face all the time, so you might as well learn it. And if you have been following it, it hasn't been your team, obviously, but it's going to take a little time as we progress, of course, across the first season. And then as soon as they start winning big, whenever, if that's year 2, year 3, year 1, whatever it is, then everybody's going to be on board and you're going to be full steam ahead. We'll get to that point. At some point, I have no doubt that point will arrive, and then the community will be all in, and particularly in the playoffs. I don't care what sport. I really don't care what sport. Playoffs brings out the intensity. We see it with the NHL now, and a lot of these games going in OT and all that stuff. So once we get to that point, it'll be like the team's been here forever. I have really no doubt about any of that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with Vegas, and we have a team that's going to be, just barely missed the playoffs last year, the Coyotes, and we get those players that are young, talented, in a tight-knit group because of all the stuff they've been through together. And then we also have $40 million, $50 million in cap space to go after some of the, really solid players, free agents that are out there, and really make us a playoff team, and hopefully a team that can go a couple rounds into the playoffs. Maybe cup contenders. You never know. It's a good Cinderella story, but I believe we make the playoffs our first season.
Oh, nice. Jay Stevens, NHL and hockey insider for KSLSports.com, joining us. Tell us about the cap. You had a little piece. You can go to KSLSports.com where they have signed a left winger, a 20-year-old, to a contract. Tell us about that, and then explain how the salary cap works. We understand with the NBA, but fill us in if there's just basically how the regulations are and what teams can do and why this hockey team has that much money available.
So it's a lot like basketball, except for there's a hard cap. We don't really do a luxury cap in the NHL. We don't. All the markets are supposed to have the same advantages, right? And the our GM had his hands kind of tied with what he could and couldn't do in Phoenix. They were trying to stay on that basement, and he just, you'd get a really good player and he'd have to trade him off. He kept a good core to keep him, fun and selling tickets. But when you had a player, it's the NHL is different. Our top players are making $10 to $12 million. The top player for the Coyotes, who was on my show yesterday, by the way, makes $7 million a year, and that's kind of where your top players are. So the Coyotes have traded off a lot of great players. We have a ton of draft picks coming up, and the salary cap went up a little bit. So we currently are going to have $43,264,000 to go out and get some. We have to sign a bunch of defensemen. We don't have really any D under contract for next season, so we're going to have to rebuild our D. A lot of our guys were restricted free agents, so you'll see the top 4 come back. And then I think the other 2 spots that we'll have available will become our number 1 and 2 guy off of free agency or off of trades. So it's the same way. You can go out, you can use your trades at the deadline or right before the draft and pick up some, get rid of some of your draft picks and pick up some really big name players then from a player that, or a team like Vegas or a team like Toronto that's right at the cap anyway, and they're not going to be able to sign all their players. So they'll be looking to dump a couple guys, and you can use some draft picks so they can draft people, and trade an $8 million salary for a $700,000 salary. So that's what I expect to see our team do. And there's some big names that are out there. And yeah, we did just sign one of our guys, Julian Lutz. He was a second round draft pick a couple of years ago. So they signed him. I expect to see him most of the time with our AAA affiliate in Tucson.
Yeah.
But you're going to see some big names at the draft, which is later this month.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And for Utah fans, they should be paying attention to the draft and all the drama that happens before the draft.
Is that coming up on the 11th?
I think the draft is on the 28th. Let me double check. But yeah,
same week as the NBA.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Who do you like? Were they Utah's drafting 6th?
Yeah, I really like a kid named Sam Dickinson. There's also a player out of Colorado that played at Denver University that won the NCAA national championship. Zev Bume. He's a phenomenal player and a big kid coming in like 6'3", 183 pounds at 18 years old. So you'll see that kid who had an amazing campaign with Denver You could see him bulk up. He could be NHL ready right now. There's a kid named Sam Dickinson, another kid, 6'3", 200 pounds. And, the NHL drafts at 18, much like baseball. So you're getting these kids at 18 years old, and they can still stay in college, or they can still stay with their junior team. So they have time to bulk up and develop their skills, and then come to rookie camps with the NHL team and get advice and get a meal plan and a workout plan, and then go back to their clubs and bulk up and keep getting better. But there are a couple guys that could step right into the NHL next year.
You spoke about your show, and I wanted you to explain what you do, because I listened to the one with Josh Doan, and you get an opportunity not just to talk about hockey, but just about who these people are. And I think for fans, you want to know a little bit about the guys. Doan's dad obviously went through it with Winnipeg and moving to Phoenix, and then he became a legend down there. And Josh grew up there and went to college there and all that stuff. And I listened to it, so he talked about driving up. I think they had a second residence in Canada, so they'd come through Salt Lake on the way up there, if I remember. It was a few weeks ago that I listened to it. But I just an opportunity to get to know these guys, because most of us don't know anything about them beyond what they do on the ice. And here you take this opportunity they get to explain who they are, and I think there can be a little bit of a connection. But just tell us where we can find your material and what you do.
Yeah, I've been really lucky. The Utah Puck Report is my podcast, and KSL believed in hockey 8 years ago. So this is my 8th season with this show, and all of a sudden we've got NHL team, and NHL players around us. But anywhere you can find a podcast, Apple or Google, Spotify, you can go to kslsports.com and look at our podcasts. We're right there. And I get this amazing opportunity to interview all the players from the team. I'm gonna have all of them. Like I said, I interviewed Clayton Keller yesterday. That episode's going to drop next Monday, I think. I had Sean Dursey, one of our defensemen, last week. That episode drops today, I believe. And it's so great because, I don't have a time constraint. Well, I do kind of get one from the NHL, but I've got a half hour to talk to these guys and really get to know them. And you mentioned the Doan story. What an amazing story. Just the fact that his dad was a Winnipeg Jet and then got moved to Phoenix when that franchise fell apart and came to Phoenix. That was 30 years ago. And now he's doing it himself. And what a cool opportunity. First, that he got to do it and then be with Arizona where his dad was and do all that stuff in Arizona, be a hometown boy. And then now he gets a clean slate. Now he got to experience what his dad experienced, and now it's his own thing. You just get to hear these really cool stories. And all these players are just willing to talk about it. And, you don't get these one-word answers from these guys. They really let us into their lives, and we get to know them a little bit better. And that's a great opportunity for all these fans, especially fans that don't really know the NHL and have, I'm a geek. I watch NHL, I watch AHL, I watch college hockey, I watch junior A, I watch everything I can. So I get to know some of these guys, but to really talk to them and hear some of their struggles and some of their excitement about coming to Utah, and, a couple of guys that didn't really even know anything about Utah. And then you had guys that, stay here during the summer because their dads used to train up in Park City that were in the NHL. So, it's a really cool opportunity, and KSL's been really kind to me and let me have this show for so long when, not many people were listening for a while. We were in the low thousands, and now all of a sudden it's just grown 4 times what it was a month ago.
Jay Stevens, NHL and hockey insider for KSLSports.com, joining us. Many years ago in the early 90s, I worked in Los Angeles, and I worked for a newspaper there, a suburban newspaper. And I wasn't a beat guy. I was sort of a guy who did a lot of different things, and I'd have an opportunity to occasionally cover Kings hockey as a sidebar guy or as an extra story, particularly when they got to the postseason. And the one thing that I found out, and I'd covered NBA and college and you name it, so pretty much anything that involves any athletic competition at that time, certainly all these years later, I've doubled down on all that stuff. But the one thing I found is the hockey guys, you spoke about it, were so easy to deal with and rarely copped attitude and would make themselves available. If you had questions and you wanted to talk to them, they were willing to talk. And it sounds like you're of the same ilk, being able to explore on who these guys are, and they don't have a reluctance. They want to do it. Is that true?
Yeah, it's 100% true. And I think It was kind of explained to me a long time ago. For hockey players, we move out of our house at 14 years old and have to go live with a different family so that we can go play junior A in some other town. So we get billeted, and you have to be nice, and you have to fit in with the family, and you have to do community projects. But you're excited about it because that's how you're getting your opportunity to play hockey. And I think just that experience helps you become like media friendly as you become a professional, because you've paid your dues and you realize what it was, and you realize that everybody's out there doing a job. All the reporters are out there doing a job. They're not your enemy. They're there to tell your story. And I think the NHL gets that, and I think the way that players have to grow up through the media and grow up through being billeted just brings that ego out. Because if you have an ego and you don't fit in somewhere, the team will get rid of you. At 15, 16 years old, and then you're done. And NHL players are just thankful. They're grateful to be there. They're not entitled about it, and they just get it, I think, a little bit more. And they're more fun to listen to. They just have great stories, and they're not afraid to laugh and tell you funny stories and make fun of themselves even, and just be a really great interview.
There you go, Jay. We appreciate your time. Tell us where you can get those podcasts again.
Apple Play, Google. If you jump on KSLSports.com, that's where I'd go get it if I were you. KSLSports.com, that's got all your information, all your articles. Just click on podcast right there, and you'll find my show.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good morning.
All right, that's Jay Stevens, NHL and hockey insider for KSLSports.com, as the hockey is a reality as we creep closer to the start of the season. And speaking of creep, we got a special guest joining us next. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Igor Damien. BYU fans, you're going to be like, what? This kid's going to play for us next year? Yes, he is. He is a projected 2025 NBA draft lottery pick. When is the last time? Probably Sean Bradley, where the BYU Cougars landed a commit from somebody who was that good, who was going to be an NBA lottery pick. We don't know what the future holds, how long he's going to be at BYU. Is he a one and done? I mean, I'm sure BYU fans will take it, right? Has BYU ever had a one and done? Like a true one and done? Did you hear what I just said, BYU fans? You're getting a potential one and done. That's amazing.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hot Takes Your Toast, and it's brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen, serving Utah for 30 years. How about that? Siegfried and Jensen, we all know who they are. Offices down there on I-15, right before the South Interchange, right there on the west side. You can't miss their building. Check them out. I've used their services. Good dudes. All right, joining me now. I said creep. I was just playing.
That was low, dude.
No, well,
that
but
was low.
I got friends in low places, man.
That was low.
That's the voice of Jake Scott. You can hear him daily from noon. Well, from 10 to noon, I should say. Yeah. And then, obviously, with Jazz basketball.
You're only, you are only our lead-in. You should know what time the show is. Oh, listen, I love it and I really do love it. I'm not even saying this sarcastically, that how you recap my takes. It makes me laugh every time. Well, I heard you talking about Arizona and Arizona State.
And that's why I do it, because I know you're driving in, right, Yuck?
And I hear how you...
Because I do it specifically because I know you're probably driving into the station.
Pulling back the curtain a little bit, Jake. He legitimately will look at DJ or I and be like, watch this.
I do. No, I'm saying it. I legitimately love it because I do. I love your show. But can I say this? Because it made me think as you were talking about that. I like Dillingham so far.
So do I.
Dilly.
He is the best ham in the conference. Step aside, Whittingham. You're full of baloney. We got Kenny Dillingham.
Leaning into the heat as opposed to
might as well,
hiding
because
from
it's
it.
Not going to go away.
Yeah, right. It's not going to change. It's got to be something. And being
it's blistering hot.
Might as well make it work for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that shows that he's a pretty sharp dude at
You
least.
got to. And I've been talking about that with DJ for years, that they've been using it for recruiting against them. And unless you've been, and it drives me nuts, some people up here, oh, I love the heat. You ain't loved no heat until you've been in that heat where it's 10 o'clock at night and it's 105. The heat don't go nowhere. It stays there the whole time for about 4 or 5 months.
No, hard pass. But yet you still can't wait to get back there.
Not in the summer. Not in the summer.
Yeah, it's hot.
January, December to April. Yeah.
That's a thing with Utah and BYU, I'm assuming, too, and probably Utah State is, if you're recruiting Southern California, they say, oh, well, it's winter for 9 months. I mean, the snow is just, it's going to be up to the top of your roof. And isn't that, Coach Witt specifically talks about their success rate when they actually get people here and be like, no, it's nice. It snows some. You have to deal with it a little bit, but it's not. We're not Minnesota.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
no,
so
I lived in New Jersey. It's not that bitter cold.
Yeah, right. So
yeah, every day. No, you can get, and plus you can get in the car and drive a few hours if you want to roll around in the sun a little bit and come back. And no, it's much easier here.
There's no sense in pretending it's Southern California either. Like you have to play that's what's great about college sports, or at least was. Is, you have to play the hand you're dealt. And certain programs have built-in advantages over others, but you have to figure out how to attract athletes to come play.
And Utah has done that, I would say, in the 90th percentile.
Absolutely.
They know how to do it. You're a smaller community. Everybody will know everybody. You'll get a lot of attention. Play it up well. And that has been a significant factor in their outstanding program. And they're able to do at such a high level of identifying and developing. I think their community aspect that they have is important, and the fans have bought into it, as they should. Tremendous support. And then you've got the ability of the coaching staff to identify talent and then develop it. And right there, for what they're able to do, they belong in the 90th percentile as far as I'm concerned, about as high as you can get, because I don't think that they are the super elite program which just has all sorts of talent available at its disposal. They've got to go find it. They're getting better at guys coming to them because of what they've accomplished, for sure, but the crux of the program is finding guys and developing them. We used to have Norm Chow on, and he said when he was at USC, you didn't recruit, you evaluated. And here you have to recruit.
Yep.
And they've done it so well. And BYU has its advantages too, obviously, with the church affiliation. And now with all this NIL, we had Mitch Harper on this morning, and he's down in Dallas. They're having Big 12 meetings, and they're talking about this up to $22 million that the schools might be able to get as early as 2025. And how will you dole out that money, that type of thing? Can we, I don't want to say finally, because it's only been chaotic for just a few years. It's not like it's been going on for 15, 20 years to the extent that it is. But here they have this opportunity to have some uniformity, some regulations, some, what am I looking for? Parameters, I guess is the word. Some guardrails. I think they need to go along those lines.
I hope so. I mean, it needs to happen, I suppose. I mean, this whole topic still absolutely makes me grumpy because they're just ruining the sport. But yeah, there has to be something better than this. I don't think this system really is in anybody's best interest.
Is it really ruining the sport, though? I see. That's where I would disagree.
It's ruining it for me.
It's ruining it.
I think maybe we're hot taking it for the radio, but I certainly think it's changing it. And
it's changing it.
It's losing a lot of the things that made it appealing.
I can see that it's lost a lot of the so-called innocence, if there really ever was innocence to be had. There was more innocence, but I don't think there was innocence.
Okay, but I mean, there should have been. The ideals that this thing started with amateurism should have been upheld because they do provide value.
But what about the idea of these guys bringing in millions and not getting their share?
I think the universities should have not been so greedy and not made money
Well, they didn't have to.
the priority. What do you mean they didn't have to?
When they didn't have to give it away. They keep it all.
But that my point is, why back in the day did they
Nobody
start,
thought of it.
you know, put your games on PBS or something. Make it about something other than the money. I mean, it's just
What
it's
isn't it about
greed.
the money?
But
What
it-
isn't about money? What isn't about greed?
But I mean,
Everything is about the money.
but everybody thinks that like there's somebody over there in the university putting dough into their pocket. They spend all the money that they make from all this stuff. It's not like it's piling up in some bank account.
No, but the
somewhere.
coaches now they make exorbitant amounts of money.
Well, that's ridiculous. Sure. Well, let's talk about that.
But that's not going to change. It's an arms race to win.
But-
the fans demand it. Utah sells out every game. At least they tell us they sell out every game. And if they were a middling 500 team, they wouldn't. So the fans are demanding it. They want it. They want to go to Rose Bowls. They want to go now playoff going forward here.
Yeah.
Maybe a game here at the stadium, and then down the line as they progress, if they have an opportunity to progress, at some point they will. Some year they'll get in, if not this year.
So, but yeah, it needs structure. So if this is going to be that structure, sure. I mean, I'm in the real world. There's no stuffing the genie back in the bottle.
Not at all.
I don't think it's going to change the sport for the better, but whatever.
I don't think
it
the
is
sport
what it is.
We're talking just college football now when you say the sport.
Yeah.
I don't think the sport has been ruined.
Okay.
Reflections of metrics would indicate that that's not the case.
Well, yeah, we talked about this yesterday. TV numbers. Yeah. Good. Thanks, David James. I got you.
Well, not just TV numbers, merchandising, donations, applications to schools that win.
Donations. That's another thing. Now this whole thing is going to be about begging for money. Like, isn't it
Yeah.
kind of sad that Coach Witt is literally a car salesman now?
Well, no, I saw him the other day with a sign when I pulled out of Smith's parking lot. He was sitting there and he had his dog with him. He had a can. Yeah, I saw him with a sign, "Help the Utes win."
But don't don't the universities beg for money enough? Now they're begging for more money and
Sure.
tickets. I mean, it's
Yeah. But if you want to win,
right.
everybody wants to win. You see it on social media, these Ute fans running their mouths about how they're going to dominate the Big 12. You got 60, 50-year-old guys somehow getting their jollies off of that, and that makes them feel better. Their lives are improved. Their quality of life is better by what the 20-year-olds do on Saturday. Mind-boggling to me, blows me away. But yet that's what we've got.
But see, that's the tie because they went to the university or they have the tie. That's, I guess, what is being lost, PK, and what I think, maybe when we get to the ruining the sport is it used to be, these were students that you could identify with the students. I was a student once. I walked the halls or whatever. It was the best athletic representation of the student body. That's where it started, right? And that's where the identification comes from. That's why you hear "we" all the time with fans talking about it. And there's a connection to it.
Somehow your self-esteem is higher if your
Right,
college
exactly.
team wins on Saturday. I don't understand it, but that's what we have. I'm grateful for it, but I don't fully understand it.
But it's a TV show. I mean, people
Absolutely, it's entertainment.
You get emotionally connected to it and make it part of their lives. And I understand it. You understand it. I mean, it's a little awkward when it goes overboard. But
I
you know
understand
what?
it for about an hour.
But
then you go home.
But social media isn't real life. And the people talking trash on social media are doing that for recreation. It's
but they think they have a dog bigger than yours.
But that's the point. I mean, that's the idea of.
I think it's way overblown. It's been way overblown. I'm grateful that it is way overblown.
Yeah, it's great.
Because it's given me a great way to make a living for many, many years. and I have extreme gratitude for that.
We built this station on that, yeah.
Here we are, and this is what it is. And if you look at it and say, well, why should we have a regulation? Get what you can get. If you can get more, and how are the schools going to dole that out if it starts? And will that actually help? Because can your school, can your conference afford $22 million every year? And if it can't, then right now you're selling, well, we're going to be less. You're going to get more money. There's a kid, apparently he's a 5-star kid. This just happened yesterday, right? 5-star kid, basketball. This kid, Caleb Love, takes his name out of the NBA draft, decides he's going to go to Arizona or return to Arizona for his COVID year. And so this one kid who's a 5-star high school recruit puts out a thing and says, oh, that's great news. 15 minutes later, he puts out another thing that says he's committed to ASU.
Joson Sainon is his name.
So I read all the stuff, and the U of A people are up in arms because he was committed to Arizona at something. He's 5-star, man. You can't get any higher than that. And they're out there saying, well, because you know why he's going to go to ASU? Not because they're going to win more. They don't ever win more. They're paying him more money. Yeah, so? What the heck? You got 2 job opportunities. Which one are you going to take? Probably, and you're coming from Vermont, some country day school that is a basketball factory.
Another prep school.
Yeah, like Donovan Mitchell.
Brewster Academy in New Hampshire is where Donovan went.
Yeah. $70,000 a year in tuition. And he's going there. He's going to get a 5-star. And their recruiting class jumped to number 3 in the country if you buy all that stuff. And buy is the word. They basically bought the kid to come.
Well, yeah, if you're going to ask me to spend any time in that oven, you better be compensating me.
He'll probably only be there when the weather's good, and then he'll go on and do his thing. But I mean, that's what it's about. You going to blame a kid? Why should we put a limit on that?
No, and
come on, Jake. Why should we put a limit on that?
What's
wrong with you?
My takes on this often get confused for
all right, well,
hating on the athlete,
straighten
which
it
I do
out
not.
And do it when we come back right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. It's that time of the year again. The countdown is back. It's the 10th annual Top 60 and 60. Beginning June 5th, get your college football fix every day at 1:30 as the Zone counts you down to the start of the 2024 season by listing off the top 60 players in the state of Utah as voted on by the local media and you, the fans. That's right. Get your rankings in right now at KSLSports.com. It's the top 60 and 60. 60 and 60. Vote for the best of the best right now at KSLSports.com. Presented by 5-Star Painting. Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is right here on 97.5. The KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination to KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. DJ's off today. Jake Scott sitting in. Jake claims he's misunderstood about the opportunity for college players to get cash. So, because I am magnanimous and I always look after Jake Scott, I have for 20 years, I want to make sure that he is understood. So now is your time to explain yourself, Jake, in 3, 2, 1.
I'm not going to blame anybody for operating under the rules and doing the best thing for them. I just I thought the old system was fine. I thought we fixed something that wasn't broken.
What do you mean?
I think the old way, like if someone were considering a really good spot for them, but then went somewhere that wasn't a good fit at all for money, I don't know. Isn't it supposed to be about life going forward and education and picking the best place where you can develop as a young person? Like that used to be the point.
Well, why can't you do both?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe you pick a place that's not great for your life or a great fit or whatever, and you do that for money. Well, money is fleeting.
What is a bad fit, though? I mean, come on.
I
Whatever situation you're in, if you make the best of it, guess what's going to happen? You're probably going to flourish.
But if I would have gone to Arizona State, I wouldn't have probably survived.
Is it too hot?
No. Because of the lifestyle of Arizona State. That would have been a terrible fit for me.
Imagine, not necessarily.
Imagine if I would have.
No,
yes, you know what I'm talking about.
The fit wasn't going to determine your success. You were going to determine your success. There's plenty of people when I went there that were not out doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. Now, there was plenty of people that were doing stuff.
But, think of it then as like a program. Is it a good engineering school?
Yes, actually it is. That's what they were known for.
but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, you're supposed to pick a fit where you can grow your life and make connections and all those things.
Right.
And
I think you can do that anywhere. What if you're determined to do it?
Oh, I think you're already seeing it, but you'll see it more. These guys will play at 3 or 4 different universities and bounce around the country.
That's because the rules allow it. If they didn't, and that's what I wonder, is that really in their best interest?
Well, I think that if you don't want to look at it from the player perspective of they're going to transfer to take more money or better opportunities sooner or whatever, I think universities now have, or coaches or whatever, now have basically carte blanche to cut whoever they want whenever they want.
I think they already did.
No, I don't.
Majerus cut guys every year.
Majerus did cut guys every year.
He averaged 3 cuts a year, and that was when you had to sit out. We used to joke for a decade. I covered the team for the Watchdog, and on senior night, we used to joke on how about cut night too. And you can name the guys that in a few weeks he was going to cut.
But I could name you several, or at least my opinion, players that were allowed to develop, didn't play for 3 or 4 years, probably would have been cut if they were being compensated or they could use that money elsewhere, and they ended up having success or a role on the team or whatever. You know what? You can name several too. I know you can.
Yeah, because they did what he wanted him to do. I mean, he ran that thing. He was the king.
Yeah, but now you've got boosters saying, we're not using our share of money on this guy, and I've got this guy over here. And
okay,
I mean,
but that's
basically.
If you're going to be in the real world, be in the real world. If you're going to get paid, face the downside of it.
But that's what I was saying. This college isn't supposed to be the real world. That's the point. It's the transition from being a child to an adult. There's value in that. There used to be value in that.
For these guys, that transition is over at 15.
It shouldn't be.
And there shouldn't be childhood cancer either, but there is.
So let's fix that problem instead of feeding into it. I agree with you.
You just said about the cat out of the bag or genie in the bottle, yada, whatever it was. That's gone for the sake of winning.
So why would we make it worse?
Because they don't think it's worse. And these kids, they're getting pressured from parents and not boosters, but hanger-oners, get the money. And a lot of them come from impoverished backgrounds.
Right.
And the money matters. That's like this thing we used to hear, oh, man, tackle football is so dangerous that the numbers are going to decline. Yeah, you know the numbers are going to decline? The guy who lives in the upper class and has got 2-parent home, and there's no need for you to play football, little Johnny. But the other guy from the South who family is struggling and they've got all sorts of issues, that's their way out. That's not declining. That's the financial way out to finally be able to get something going in your life. That's why football is so popular there, among other reasons, obviously. And it's not going to decline there. It's going to decline for the people who don't need it financially. Yeah, don't do that. Why would you do that? You're making 6-7 figures. You don't need to play football. Okay, sure. But for the ones that aren't and making, I grew up in a family like that, man. I heard Charlemagne the God, one of my guys, yesterday say on a podcast, well, my family never made more than $30,000 a year growing up. Charlemagne, where did I sign up? I never made more than 20. And janitors. And if I would have had an opportunity to get some cash and play a sport, yeah, right. But then the guy across the table, I grew up in a college-educated family and yada, yada. Play football? My kid ain't going to play football. No. And they're going to graduate school and doing a whole thing and it's paid for? Yeah, of course not. This is a way out to improve your life. I'm not going to deny these kids that. And if they can take advantage of the system, way to go.
All right.
Yeah, you better believe it. Yeah, absolutely. You're darn tootin' right. Yeah. You hear what I'm saying?
No, I missed it. No, I was.
Let me repeat it.
I was looking stuff up like David does.
Yeah.
I was looking for NBA final stats.
Yeah, what
from
Bill Walton's stats were and when he played for the Clippers.
The real question is, though,
What?
Charlemagne the God, what's your favorite track? That's what we need to know. What's on PK's playlist?
Well, I mean, he's not just a rapper now. He's an author. He's got a new book out.
Isn't he most famous for being a radio host?
He is, yeah.
He is, mainly.
Yeah. Got a friend who's a good friend of his. Yeah, Charlemagne. He went by Charles. In the hood, he was selling drugs, and it was a small community, and he had to change his name because then people know he'd wear a hoodie so he wouldn't be recognized. He's Charlemagne. And you know what he said? Well, I better not say it because I'd say we were all in this heightened sensitivity world. I'll tell you in the break. But you want to talk about Donovan Mitchell, and you're outraged about Donovan Mitchell. Jake Scott is, and we'll get to that next, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.